In October of 1925, a woman walked into Florence Scovel Shinn's Manhattan apartment, utterly devastated. She had only $3 in her pocket, 2 kids to feed, and she'd just received an eviction notice, giving her 5 days to get out. Florence looked at her and said something that sounded completely insane. "You're going to receive money in the next 48 hours, but you have to do exactly what I'm about to teach you." The woman did. 42 hours later, she received an unexpected check for $500, an inheritance from a distant aunt she didn't even know existed. Coincidence? Wait until you discover what Florence taught her to do. Because what you're about to hear in the next 20 minutes isn't just theory. It's the exact method Florence Scovel Shinn used to compel the universe to deliver money at an accelerated rate. And most people will never discover this, because they're making a fatal mistake that completely blocks abundance. Florence Scovel Shinn wasn't just a spiritual teacher. She was a fine artist, an illustrator of children's books in New York in the 1920s. But in 1923, after going through a devastating financial crisis that nearly left her homeless, she discovered something that would change her life forever. She realized that there's a universal law as precise as the law of gravity, a law that governs the flow of money in the universe. And that law has a name: the law of equivalent return. Florence discovered that the universe functions like a perfect mirror. Everything you send out comes back to you, but not in the way people think. Most people think it's enough to just think positive and visualize money. Wrong. Completely wrong. Florence discovered that the universe doesn't respond to your thoughts. The universe responds to your words. More specifically, to your verbal declarations of faith. And she proved this in such an impressive way that her students in New York began calling her the woman who speaks to the universe. Between 1923 and 1940, Florence documented more than 200 cases of people who received unexpected money after applying her method. Inheritances that appeared out of nowhere, forgotten checks that arrived in the mail, job offers that arose inexplicably, debts forgiven for no apparent reason. But listen carefully. This isn't magic. This isn't esotericism. This is a scientific law of the spiritual universe. And Florence codified this law into a 5-step method that anyone can apply. But before revealing those 5 steps, you need to understand the fatal mistake that's blocking your money right now. Florence tells the story in The Game of Life and How to Play It of a student named Emily. Emily made positive affirmations every day. She visualized money. She meditated. She expressed gratitude. She did everything the books on the law of attraction tell you to do. But the money didn't come. Worse, her financial situation was getting worse. When Emily sought out Florence, she was on the verge of a nervous breakdown. "I'm doing everything right, but nothing works," she cried. Florence asked her to repeat the affirmations she made every day. Emily began, "I deserve money. I attract abundance. I am rich." Florence stopped her at the first sentence and said, "There's your mistake. You're lying to the universe." Emily was confused. "How am I lying?" Florence explained. "When you say, 'I deserve money,' your subconscious knows that you don't believe it. Because if you really believed it, you wouldn't need to affirm it. You would simply know it. And when you lie to the universe sends the lie right back. You receive exactly what you're sending out. Falsity. This is the fatal mistake that 99% of people make. They try to convince the universe with empty affirmations, with forced positive thoughts, with visualizations that the subconscious rejects. And the universe isn't stupid. The universe doesn't respond to what you want. The universe responds to what you really believe. Florence taught Emily a different technique. A technique that doesn't try to convince the universe. A technique that commands the universe. And this technique has a name. Verbal decree of faith. Step number 1. Identify the exact need. Florence used to say, the universe doesn't respond to vague requests. The universe responds to specific commands. You can't just say, I want money. That's too vague. The universe doesn't know how much, doesn't know when, doesn't know what for. You need to define the exact amount, the exact deadline, and the exact purpose. For example, I decree that by October 15th I receive $1,000 to pay my utility bill and buy groceries for my family. See the difference? It's specific, it's measurable, it's defined in time. Florence taught this to all her students, and everyone who applied it received results. Step number 2, declare out loud with authority. This is crucial. The decree doesn't work if you just think it. The decree doesn't work if you just write it. The decree only works when you speak it out loud with authority. Why? Because the spoken word has creative power in the universe. The Bible says in Genesis, "In the beginning was the Word." God created the universe through the spoken word, and you were created in God's image and likeness. That means you also have creative power through the spoken word. Florence discovered that when you declare something out loud, you're activating a vibrational frequency that resonates in the quantum field. And the quantum field reorganizes physical circumstances to manifest what you've declared. But it has to be with authority. It's not to ask. It's not to beg. It's to decree. Florence taught, don't say, I wish I could receive money. Say, I decree that money is coming to me now. The difference is brutal. Step number 3, give thanks before receiving. This step is what separates the novices from the masters. Most people give thanks after they receive. Florence taught the opposite. You give thanks before you receive. Because when you give thanks before, you're signaling to the universe that you already have faith that you're going to receive. And faith is the substance of things hoped for. Faith is the bridge between the invisible world and the visible world. Florence Scovel Shinn, in her book, tells a story about a woman who urgently needed $100 for a surgery. Florence taught her the following decree. I give thanks because the universe has already provided the $100 that I need. I give thanks because the money is already on its way. The woman made this decree every day for 3 days. On the 3rd day, she received a call from a former employer, someone who owed her exactly $100 from a job she'd done 2 years prior. He had completely forgotten to pay her, but on that specific day, it popped into his head out of nowhere. Coincidence? Florence Scovel Shinn would say, there's no such thing as coincidence. There is only the law of equivalent return in action. Step number 4, act as if you've already received it. This is the step that causes the most confusion because people misunderstand it. Acting as if you've already received it does not mean spending money you don't have. It does not mean going into debt. It does not mean being irresponsible. It means changing your internal attitude. Florence Scovel Shinn explained it like this. If you already had $10,000 in your account, how would you feel? How would you walk? How would you talk? How would you treat people? Would you walk around with your head down, worried, anxious? No. You'd walk with confidence, tranquility, gratitude, so do that now before you receive the money. Because the universe responds to the vibrational frequency you emit, and if you emit a vibration of scarcity, you receive scarcity. If you emit a vibration of abundance, you receive abundance. Florence Scovel Shinn had a student who was unemployed and desperately needed money. But instead of staying home crying and complaining, Florence told her to do the following. Get dressed up as if you were going to a really important interview. Wear your best outfit. Do your hair. Put on some perfume. Leave the house and walk the streets with the posture of someone who already has a job. The woman thought it was strange, but she obeyed. On the second day of doing this, she ran into an old acquaintance on the street. This acquaintance worked at a company that was hiring. The result, she was hired that same week. You see how it works? The universe opens doors for those who act in faith. Step number 5, release control and trust in divine timing. This is the most difficult step of all, because we, as human beings, want to control everything. We want to decide how the money will arrive. We want to decide when it will arrive. We want to decide where it will arrive from. But Florence Scovel Shinn said, "You're not smart enough to know the best way. The universe is. Your job is to decree with faith. The universe's job is to provide the path. And often, the path the universe chooses is completely unexpected." Florence Scovel Shinn tells the story of a man who decreed to receive $1,000. He expected to receive it from a client who owed him, but the client didn't pay. He became frustrated and almost gave up on the technique. But Florence said, "Wait, the universe isn't finished working yet." 2 weeks later, the man's sister sold a piece of land that belonged to both of them, land he had completely forgotten about. She sent him half of the sale amount, $1,000. You see? The universe knew of a path he couldn't even imagine. That's why the last step is, let go. Don't become obsessed with controlling. Decree, give thanks, act in faith, and trust. Documented cases, 11 of Forest to 14. Now let me show you that this isn't just theory. This works. And there are hundreds of documented cases. Case number 1. The woman with the $500 check. This is the story I told at the beginning. The woman had 2 kids, and an eviction notice coming in 5 days. Florence taught her to make the following decree. I decree that in the next 48 hours, the universe provides all the money I need to pay my rent and feed my children. I give thanks because it's already done. The woman made the decree out loud 6 times a day, morning, afternoon, and night. On the second day, she received a telegram informing her that a distant aunt had passed away and left her an inheritance of $500. He didn't even know this aunt existed. Case number 2. The man who decreed 1 job and received 2. This case is documented in Florence Scovel Shinn's book, The Power of the Spoken Word. A man had been unemployed for 6 months. He made the decree. I decree that by the end of this week, I receive a job offer that's perfect for me. He repeated the decree 3 times a day. On the 4th day, he received 2 job offers on the same day. One from a company he had applied to 4 months prior and never received a response. The other from a company he didn't even know. But a friend had recommended his name without telling him. He chose the best one and started working the following week. Case number 3. The teacher who decreed $200 and received $250. This story is incredible because it shows that the universe sometimes gives you more than you ask for. A teacher owed $200 in back rent. She made the decree. I decree that I receive $200 this week. She repeated the decree every day. On the 5th day, the school where she worked announced an unexpected end-of-year bonus for all the teachers. The amount of here bonus, $250. She paid her rent and still had $50 left over. These cases aren't the exception. These cases are the rule when you apply the method correctly. But there's a crucial detail that I need to tell you now. A detail that makes all the difference between it working or not working. The final secret, the vibrational frequency, 14 roar to 17. Florence Scovel Shinn discovered that it's not enough to just make the decree. You need to make the decree in the right vibrational frequency. And what's the right frequency? The frequency of certainty. It's not the frequency of hope. It's not the frequency of desire. It's the frequency of absolute certainty. How do you reach this frequency? Florence taught a specific technique that she called the state of consciousness of fulfillment. It works like this. Before making the decree, you close your eyes and imagine the scene after you've already received the money. You don't imagine the money arriving. You imagine yourself already with the money in hand. How do you feel? Relieved? Grateful? Happy? Peaceful? You feel that emotion with intensity. You let that emotion fill your entire body. And then, in that emotional state, you open your eyes and make the decree out loud. The difference is brutal, because now the decree isn't coming from your mouth. It's coming from your heart. And the universe responds to the heart, not the mouth. Florence taught this to all her students. And she said, if you make the decree without emotion, it's like sending a letter without a stamp. The letter won't arrive. But if you make the decree with emotion, with the frequency of certainty, it's like sending a letter by express delivery. It arrives quickly. And there's more. Florence Scovel Shinn discovered that there's a specific time of day when your decree is most powerful. And when is that? First thing when you wake up and right before you go to sleep. Why those times? Because during those moments, your subconscious mind is the most open. The critical mind is switched off. And the decree penetrates directly into your subconscious. And it's in the subconscious where true creation happens. So the complete technique is this. In the morning, wake up, get into a state of certainty, and state your decree aloud 3 times. At night, before you go to sleep, get into that state of certainty again, and state your decree aloud 3 times. Do this every day until you receive what you've asked for. Florence guaranteed, if you do this with genuine faith, you will receive it. It might be in 2 days, it might be in 2 weeks, it might be in 2 months. But you will receive it, because the law never fails. The universe doesn't forget. What you decree with faith, you receive. The 7 mistakes that block your decree, 17 to 20. Now pay attention, because I'm about to reveal the 7 mistakes that can keep your decree from working. If you're making any of these mistakes, the method simply will not work. And you might think the problem is with the technique itself, but the problem is actually with how you're applying it. Mistake number 1, making your decree with doubt. Florence said, faith mixed with doubt is like water mixed with oil. They just don't mix. If you make a decree, but at the same time you're thinking, will this really work? You've just canceled the decree. The universe responds to your dominant conviction. If your doubt is stronger than your faith, the universe delivers that doubt right back to you. Meaning, Nothing happens. How do you fix it? Fake it till you make it. Pretend you've already received it. Because that's what faith is all about. Acting as if you already have it before you have it. Mistake number 2. Making a decree and then complaining about your current situation. This mistake is fatal. Because you might make your decree in the morning, but then throughout the day, you keep complaining that you're broke. Florence explained, every time you complain, you're actually making a negative decree. And a negative decree has just as much power as a positive one. So if you decree abundance in the morning, but complain about scarcity in the afternoon, the 2 decrees essentially cancel each other out. The golden rule is, never talk about the lack. Always talk about the abundance that is on its way to you. Instead of saying, I'm broke, say, money is on its way to me. Sound silly? Florence proved it works. Mistake number 3. Getting obsessed with the how. This is the mistake that blocks results more than almost anything else. People make the decree, but then they become obsessed with trying to figure out how the money is going to arrive. They start planning, calculating, forcing situations. And Florence said, when you try to control the how, you're basically telling the universe that you don't trust it. And when you don't trust, the universe doesn't deliver. Your job is to decree. The universe's job is to provide the pathway. You don't need to know how. You just need to trust that it will happen. Mistake number 4. Telling everyone what you're doing. Florence was adamant about this. Keep your decrees a secret. Why? Because when you tell people, you're opening the door for their doubt to contaminate your faith. Someone's gonna say, that doesn't work. Someone's gonna say, you're deluding yourself. Someone's gonna say, you need to be realistic. And those negative words will plant seeds of doubt in your subconscious. Florence taught, a decree is like a seed that you plant in the ground. If you keep digging up the seed to show it off to other people, it's never going to grow. Plant it, cover it with soil, and let the universe do its work. Mistake number 5, giving up too soon. This is perhaps the most common mistake of all. People make the decree for 3 days, don't see results, and then give up. But Florence said, the universe has perfect timing. Sometimes the answer comes quickly. Sometimes it takes longer. But it always comes, if you maintain your faith. Florence talks in her book about a guy who decreed that he'd receive a specific job. He made the decree every day for 3 months. Nothing happened. He was about to give up. On the very day he was going to quit, he received a phone call. It was the exact job that he had been decreeing. The position had just opened up. If he had given up one day earlier, he would have missed it. Mistake number 6, decreeing one thing and acting the opposite. You can't decree abundance and act like you're broke. If you decree that you're going to receive money, but then when it comes time to leave a tip, you give the bare minimum because you're short on cash, you've just blocked your decree. Why? Because the universe sees your actions, not just your words. Florence taught, be generous before you receive. Because when you give, you're telling the universe that you trust you have enough. And the universe multiplies whatever it is that you trust you have. Mistake number 7, using the decree to harm someone else. Florence was clear. The universe will not fulfill decrees that come from an impure heart. If you decree money for yourself, but then you're secretly happy when you see someone else losing money, you've blocked your own decree. Why? Because the universe is a mirror. What you wish for others comes back to you. Florence said, wish abundance for everyone. Celebrate the prosperity of others. Because when you do that, you're signaling to the universe that you believe in unlimited abundance, and the universe delivers unlimited abundance right back to you. The 21-day practical protocol, 20 århund to 23 strashn. Now we're getting to the most important part. The practical protocol that you're going to start applying today. Florence taught this protocol to hundreds of students, and it worked for everyone who applied it with faith. The protocol lasts for 21 days. Why 21 days? Because Florence discovered that 21 days is the amount of time needed to reprogram your subconscious. Here's the complete step-by-step. Days 1 to 7, purification of consciousness. For the first 7 days, you're not going to make the decree yet. You're just going to prepare your consciousness. How? By eliminating all negative talk about money. Every time you talk about money, you're only going to talk about it in a positive way. No more, I'm broke. No more, everything is too expensive. No more, I can't afford it. Instead, you're going to say, money flows easily to me. I have enough. The universe provides everything I need. Do this rigorously for 7 days. Florence guaranteed. This alone will start to shift your financial vibration. Days 8 to 14, starting the daily decrees. Starting on day 8, you're going to begin making your decrees. Remember those 5 steps I taught you? Now it's time to apply them. Every day, upon waking, identify the exact need. Declare it aloud with authority. Give thanks before you receive it. Every day before going to sleep, repeat the same process. Do this every day for 7 days straight, without skipping a single day. And during those 7 days, keep eliminating all negative talk about money. Days 15 to 21, intensification and solidification. For the final week, you're going to intensify your practice beyond your morning and evening decrees. You'll add a decree in the middle of the day, and you'll incorporate a practice that Florence Scovel Shinn called faith in action. What is faith in action? It's doing something that demonstrates your belief that money is already on its way. For example, say you've decreed that you're going to receive $10,000. You might set aside an envelope and write on it, "Tithe from my $10,000, and then place $1,000, imaginary, of course, inside. Sound crazy? Florence Scovel Shinn said, when you act as if you've already received it, the universe materializes what you are acting out. Another example of faith in action. Donate some money, even if it's just a little. Because when you give, you're signaling abundance. Make these last 7 days intense. And on day 21, you're going to hold a ceremony of gratitude. The ceremony is simple. You'll give thanks out loud for everything you've decreed, as if you've already received it all. Florence Scovel Shinn, guaranteed. If you follow this 21-day protocol with genuine faith, something will change in your financial life. It might not be exactly how you expected, but it will shift, because the law never fails. Special cases, financial emergencies, 23 to 25. Now, some of you are in a financial emergency. You can't wait 21 days. Florence Scovel Shinn had a specific protocol for emergencies. She called it the 24-hour emergency decree. Here's how it works. You choose a 24-hour period. It could be from 8 a.m. today until 8 a.m. tomorrow. During those 24 hours, you'll say your decree every 2 hours. That's 12 times in 24 hours. But listen carefully. You can't have any negative thoughts about money during those 24 hours. No doubt, no fear, no anxiety. Every time a negative thought pops up, you immediately replace it with your decree. Florence Scovel Shinn tells the story of a woman who was about to lose her house. The bank was going to foreclose the next day. Florence Scovel Shinn taught her to do the 24-hour emergency decree. The woman did it. She decreed every 2 hours for 24 straight hours. I decree that the money for the mortgage appears now. I give thanks because it is already done. At the end of the 24 hours, she got a call. It was a distant cousin who had heard about her situation. He loaned her the money. Interest-free. The house was saved. Coincidence? Florence Scovel Shinn said, "Coincidence is God acting anonymously." But caution. The emergency decree only works if you genuinely maintain faith for the entire 24 hours. If you doubt halfway through, you break the energetic chain. And there's one more technique that Florence Scovel Shinn taught for extreme cases. She called it the check from the universe. You take a piece of paper, you draw a check, and you fill it out with the exact amount you need. But instead of signing it with your name, you sign it, the universe. And you carry that check in your pocket for 7 days. Every time you look at the check, you give thanks because the money has already been deposited in your spiritual account. Florence Scovel Shinn taught this and said, when you do this, you are making such a powerful declaration of faith that the universe is obliged to respond. Sound too simple? Florence Scovel Shinn said, the greatest truths are always the simplest. Modern testimonials, 25-27. Now, you might be thinking, that worked in the 1920s, but does it still work today? The answer is yes, because universal laws don't change. Let me tell you about some modern cases of people who applied Florence Scovel Shinn's method and got results. Case 1. Ashley from Chicago, 2018. Ashley had been unemployed for 8 months. She had $200 in her account and a young child to feed. She discovered Florence Scovel Shinn's book online. She followed the 21-day protocol. On day 16 of the protocol, she received a work-from-home job offer from a company in Silicon Valley. The salary? $5,000 a month, 3 times more than she earned in her previous job. Case 2. Michael from Seattle, 2020. Michael had a debt of $15,000. He was being sued by the bank. He did the 24-hour emergency decree, following exactly what Florence Scovel Shinn taught. The next day, an investor appeared, interested in an old project that Michael had abandoned 3 years earlier. The investor paid $20,000 for the project. Michael paid off the debt and still had money left over. Case 3. Brittany from Miami, 2022. Brittany needed $3,000 for her mother's urgent surgery. She followed the check from the universe protocol. She carried the $3,000 check in her pocket for 7 days. On the 5th day, she received a message from a childhood friend she hadn't seen in 15 years. The friend had sold a house and wanted to donate part of the money to health causes. She donated exactly $3,000 to Brittany to pay for her mother's surgery. These cases are real. These cases are documented, and they prove that Florence Scovel Shinn's method works. No matter the year, no matter the country, no matter the situation, the law is universal, and the law never fails. Final call to action, 27 hour to 30. Now, it's time for the truth. You have 2 choices. Option 1, you can ignore everything you just heard. You can keep doing things the way you always have. Empty affirmations, visualizations without faith, hoping that money falls from the sky, and you'll keep getting the same results you always have. Option 2, you can apply Florence Scovel Shinn's method. You can follow the 21-day protocol. You can decree with genuine faith, and you can watch the universe respond. The choice is yours. But before you choose, I want you to understand something. Florence Scovel Shinn wasn't just some ordinary woman. She was a woman who discovered a truth that most people will never discover. The truth is this: the universe isn't against you. The universe isn't denying you anything. The universe is waiting for you to give the right order, in the right way, with the right faith. And when you do that, the universe delivers. Always. Without fail. Florence Scovel Shinn lived it herself. She went from a broke artist to a prosperous spiritual teacher. She helped hundreds of people escape financial misery. And she left this knowledge behind so that you could apply it today. So my question for you is, are you going to apply it? Or are you going to keep complaining that life is hard, that money doesn't come, that nothing works out? Because if you choose to complain, the universe will keep giving you reasons to complain. But if you choose to decree with faith, the universe will give you reasons to be grateful. All right, listen up, because I want you to do something powerful right now. First things first, hit pause on this recording. Seriously, do it. Go grab a pen and a piece of paper. Don't skip this step. Second, I want you to write down exactly what your financial need is. How much money do you need? Specifically, what is it for? And when do you need it by? Be precise. The universe loves clarity. Third, now craft your decree. Use the formula I taught you in this series. Be specific. Be clear. No vague wishes here. We're dealing with the quantum field, people. Fourth, this is where the magic happens. Speak that decree out loud 3 times. Right now. With authority. With unwavering faith. Speak as if you've already received it. Feel it in your bones. Fifth, gratitude, my friend. This is key. Feel the gratitude as if that money is already sitting in your bank account. Savor that feeling. Breathe it in. Let it fill you up. This isn't just visualization, it's realization. And sixth, and this is crucial, commit to doing this every single day for the next 21 days. Mark it on your calendar. Set reminders. Make it non-negotiable. If you commit to this process, if you truly believe, you're going to start seeing signs. You're going to start seeing doors opening that you never even knew existed. You are going to start seeing opportunities popping up left and right. Trust me on this, because the universe responds to faith. It always has. It always will. It's a fundamental law, like gravity. Florence Scovel Shinn proved it, time and time again. Hundreds of her students proved it. Their lives transformed before their very eyes. And now, it's your turn to prove it. So, I implore you, don't let this knowledge die here. Don't be just another person who listens and then does nothing. Don't let this be just another podcast or video you consume and forget. Be the person who listens and transforms. Be the person who takes action and creates their own reality. Because the only difference between you and someone who is receiving abundance right now is this: they have decreed it with faith. You haven't yet. But that can change today. Right now, this very moment. You have the power. You hold the key. So, do your part. Decree it with faith. Believe with all your heart. And let the universe do its part. And when that money arrives, and it will arrive, you're going to remember this recording. You're going to remember Florence Scovel Shinn, and you're going to be overflowing with gratitude for having believed. Because faith moves mountains, faith opens doors, and faith makes the universe deliver money. When you do exactly what Florence taught, it's a cosmic principle. This is the power that you possess. This isn't just some fluffy feel-good stuff. This is real. This is tangible. This is the power to reshape your life. Use it with wisdom. Use it with gratitude. And use it now. Don't wait another second. The universe is waiting for your order. It's poised, ready to deliver. Are you ready to receive?